Welcome to the Stop Italian Sounding podcast, uncovering authentic Italian food. I'm your host, Robert Campana, and join me as we delve into the rich heritage of genuine Italian food, exploring its legends, history, and traditions. Through important tips and insightful interviews with industry professionals, you'll gain a deeper understanding of authentic Italian food. Welcome back, everyone, to the Stop Italian Sounding show, uncovering authentic Italian food. So, as you've probably seen through my social media accounts, I was just in Italy, I was in Rome, I was in Torino. And one thing I'd like to talk about today is very specific to Rome, and it is basically answering a question that I got after making a post a few days ago about the Supplì. You've probably seen it. You've probably eaten one or more than one, and of course, it's one of Rome's beloved street foods. So, at first glance, it might look similar to something else something from Sicily called the arancino or the arancina. But here's the truth. They are totally different. They are 100% not the same thing. So again, this is something I wanted to clarify today because I've gotten a few questions, of course, on social media. Anyway, we're going to break down what Supplì really is, where it comes from, why it's called Supplì or Supplì al telefono, so like phone Supplì, and how it's different, of course, from the Sicilian arancino. So first of all, a supplì is a Roman street food made of rice, which is cooked in tomato sauce, often with a meat ragu, shaped into kind of like an oval shape, filled with mozzarella, breaded, and then fried. So when you bite into it, the mozzarella inside melts and stretches, creating that iconic visual that Romans absolutely love. So this is something that's simple, it's comforting, it's deeply tied to the everyday food culture of the Eternal City. And the Supplì, actually, believe it or not, dates back to the 19th century, during a time when Rome was actually influenced by French culture, especially when it comes to cuisine. And in fact, the name Supplì is believed to come from the French word surprise, which means surprise. And the idea is actually quite simple, because inside this fried rice ball, inside the Supplì, there was a quote-unquote surprise filling, usually melted cheese or sometimes even ragu. And over time, surprise, the French word, became Supplì in Roman dialect. And originally, these were sold in frigitorie, basically small shops specializing in fried foods. And who doesn't like fried foods? Then they quickly became a staple of Roman quote-unquote street food. And unlike more elaborate dishes, Supplì were meant to be quick, meant to be affordable, meant to be delicious, meant to be something that you could eat standing up, on the go, walking throughout the city of Rome. Now, let's talk about one of the most famous names, Supplì al telefono, or in English, telephone Supplì. And this name comes from what happens when you break one open in half. You give it the quote-unquote test. So the melted mozzarella inside, once you break the Supplì in half, that melted mozzarella stretches into a long strand resembling a sort of wire of an old telephone. So when you pull the two halves apart, you see that the string of the cheese connecting them, which looks basically like the phone line, hence the name Supplì al telefono. And it's one of those small kind of visual details that become part of the identity of this specific food that we're talking about. Now, let's address another big question. What is the difference between Supplì and Sicilian arancini? So first, we talk about the origin. Of course, Supplì come from Rome, which is located in the Lazio region, and arancini come from the region of Sicily. Next, they are shaped differently. So the Supplì are usually oval, while the arancini are typically round or sometimes even cone-shaped, depending on the specific area in Sicily. Third, let's talk about the rice. The Supplì use rice mixed with tomato sauce or even ragu sometimes, and the arancini often use plain risotto-style rice, sometimes flavored with saffron. Next, we're talking about the fillings. Supplì are traditionally simple with mozzarella, sometimes even ragu, while arancini can be a little more complex with ragu, peas, bechamel, pistachios, eggplant, and so many other things. And finally, its cultural role, because Supplì is a street food. It's quick, it's everyday, while arancini is also a street food, but in Sicily, they're often more varied and dependent on the zone, could be a little more different within Sicily, hence having many more interpretations So while they may look similar at a quick first glance, they are two completely different traditions, each one obviously reflecting their own region's history and specific ingredients. And that's a perfect example, of course, of something that I talk about often. Italian food is not just one single cuisine. Obviously, it's a collection of regional identities. And calling a supplì an arancino or vice versa might seem like a small mistake, but it actually overlooks the history, the culture, the identity behind that specific dish. And understanding the difference helps us to appreciate the Italian food much more deeply and respect, of course, all the traditions that helped to create it. Anyway, the next time you're in Rome, order a supplì, order more than one, enjoy it. And when you pull it apart, you'll see the mozzarella that stretches, if it's a good one, of course, and you'll understand exactly why it's called Supplì al Telefono. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the stories of authentic Italian cuisine. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast for more insights and interviews. Also, feel free to reach out with your thoughts or questions on our social media channels at Stop Italian Sounding or on our website, stopitasounding.com. Grazie a tutti e alla prossima.